Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast, powered by Mellow Seltzer. Today, our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Philadelphia 76ers, the third and final matchup between the two teams, which doubled as an opportunity for the season sweep, something they haven't done since the 2016-2017 season. It's almost been 10 fucking years since the Cavs have swept these dudes. So now, represented as good an opportunity as any to get that done. Did not happen. We're going to talk about it. No Evan Mobley, but also no Joel Embiid, no Andre Drummond to contend with on the opposite side. Add them to a list that includes Caleb Martin, Kyle Lowry, KJ Martin, and Jarrett McCain, who was out for the season. And on paper, at least, that would seem to indicate an easier matchup. But as we all know, you should never take your opponent too lightly. Luckily, prior to tonight, the Cavs been pretty damn good at navigating possible trap games and almost always seem to play with a high sense of urgency and intensity in each game. And you don't win 36 out of 43 without doing so prior to tonight's game. So with that being said, how did they fare? Did they secure win number 37? They did not, ladies and gentlemen. Fresh off of a near comeback victory over the Houston Rockets, Darius Garland and the Cleveland Cavaliers were hungry for a W, and rightfully so, after what happened. After Darius Garland missed those two free throws down the stretch that could have earned the W against the Houston Rockets, who the Cavaliers, conversely, will play tomorrow night on the second leg of a back-to-back. But before we get into the specifics of the game, if you're watching over on YouTube, do you me a favor and smash that like button, subscribe while you're at it too. Also, just want to take a second to appreciate the fact that Donovan Mitchell has been named an NBA All-Star for the sixth time in 8 seasons. I don't think a lot of people realize how special that is. And with this nomination being his second as a starter, and hopefully he'll be joined by a few more Cavaliers. Also, Kenny Atkinson and his coaching staff, that includes the likes of Johnny Bryant, Jordan Ott, DeMarre Carroll, and more, are heading to the Bay to join Donovan Mitchell and whoever else to represent Cleveland, as they've earned the bid to coach in the All-Star game, securing enough victory/separation to do so before the break. Thanks to, I believe, a Lakers victory over the Boston Celtics. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what eventually pushed them over, despite the Cavaliers losing now 2 straight. So major props to this coaching staff for getting the Cavs to this point, and here's to hoping the best is yet to come. But we do have a game to discuss, and I guess it's time to talk some ball. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most dangerous types of games is the game in which multiple stars and rotation players are out. This can often lay the groundwork for a lazy performance from the team that's expected to win, because no one expects the undermanned team to win. We've seen it time and time again. The team that's favored underestimates the heart and determination of would-be lesser foes and wind up going home holding an L. That is a tale as old as time. But generally, that is not how this Cavaliers team has operated. No. They come ready to play most nights, especially off of losses. And though they only lost 7 prior to tonight, they'd only lost 2 in a row once all year. Back-to-back games against Atlanta that still haunt me. I'm not going to lie. Other than that, when they lose, they come right back and generally win that next game. They've already gone on not 1, but 2 separate 10-plus game win streaks. So if I'm saying anything, I'm saying anytime they lose, they could turn right back around and go on a streak. That was not the case tonight. And while I felt that there were genuine good things that occurred tonight, seeing Sam Merrill get back to it, at least in the first quarter or so. And in the first quarter, Sam scored 9 points in about 4 minutes and 36 seconds of action, but it was completely absent offensively in the second half. Donovan Mitchell, he got back to his dominant self, scoring 37 on 12 of 23 from the field, including 7 of 15 from three-point distance and 6 of 8 from the free throw line. He was pretty damn good tonight. Darius Garland, 26.7 assists, 10 of 21 from the field, 4 of 10 from three-point distance. But the real hero of tonight, the real reason why the Cavaliers, frankly, were in this game, despite a lot of the different things that we saw from Philadelphia, especially the shooting that we're going to discuss in a minute, was Ty fucking Jerome. Ty Jerome was brilliant tonight. This man just always seems to make plays and create good offensive opportunities when he is out there on that floor. He would do what he typically does and provided the Cavaliers with a shot in the arm. And as John Michael so eloquently put it, he was just instant offense for the Cavs. His ability to disrupt on the defensive end often leads to transition opportunities, and he's just absolutely could not miss from 3-point range tonight. And I mean that in the most literal sense possible. He literally went 8 of 8 from 3-point range, better than any Cavalier out there, including Donovan Mitchell. He was the reason. He was the engine for this Cavaliers team tonight, despite Donovan's 37. This man was absolutely brilliant. He was electric anytime he drove inside. We know he's got quite a float game. He's uncanny when he attempts that shot, but it still wasn't enough. And the big reason for that was just the flame throwing that you saw from the likes of the Philadelphia 76ers. Paul George, Tyrese Maxey and company put in work in that regard. They beat the zone. And this is something that I want you guys' opinion on, because we have seen this now in a multitude of games dating back to the first Indiana game, if I'm not mistaken. They've done it all season, but they really started going to the zone heavy against Indiana in that first matchup. And I know a lot of this coincides with the loss of Evan Mobley, or rather absence of Evan Mobley, Karis LeVert, Isaac Okoro. It all coincides with that because you're trying to make up for not having the ability to have some of these really good man defenders out there, and you're going to that zone and you're hoping that the other team does not shoot the lights out, but clearly it did not work tonight, as Philadelphia just absolutely obliterated the zone. And they were shooting uncanny. They were really, really good from 3-point range tonight. 21 of 39, and what's a 54% from 3-point distance was this Philadelphia 76ers team. I saw PG take a ton of low percentage shots and tightly contested triples. I saw Gershon Yabusele, a player that I really wanted the Cavaliers to try and bring in somehow after the Paris Olympics. He knocked down multiple triples. We saw Maxey drill a number. Justin Edwards with a few. Eric Gordon, Oubre, who fouled out tonight. Man, these guys were just drilling shots left and right. And if my math is correct, at least 8 Philadelphia 76ers managed to drill a triple. The zone did not work tonight. I don't know if there really is a way. I guess you can try, if you're Kenny Atkinson in game when the zone is not working, I guess you try and go back to more of a man-to-man scheme. But when you don't have some of the bodies that you don't have out there, who are some of your best defenders in LeVert, Mobley, and Okoro, I'm not sure it's going to really do you any better, because people already shit on the likes of Strus, Niang, Merrill, who's held up at points defensively, but is still not quite the defender of any of those guys. Tyson, maybe you can give some of these guys minutes to Tyson. He seems to be holding up defensively, but I don't know. The zone just has not worked against some of these teams that the Cavaliers have faced lately. And I get it. It's what Kenny Atkinson and company appear to be comfortable with for large stretches of games, but I cannot shake the feeling that I'm too tired of seeing the zone at times. They got to adjust in game when teams are starting to shoot over it. I don't know, man. I really don't know how else to put it in that regard. And make no mistake, there were definitely instances tonight in which multiple 76ers got open looks because the Cavaliers did not rotate quick enough in that zone, or they did not have a body out there to close out. It happened multiple times tonight, but there are also occasions in which Philly just made some very, very difficult shots. PG is a perfect example of that, but some of it was on the Cavaliers. It was a rough watch at times. It truly was. To see Cleveland, who shot 48% from 3-point distance in their own right, largely on the back of Donovan Mitchell and Ty Jerome, still lose a game and allow Philadelphia to score 132 points when they are down Joel Embiid, Andre Drummond, Kyle Lowry, Caleb Martin, KJ Martin, and Jared McCain. To allow them to still go out there and put up 132 points, I think it kind of tells you how piss poor this Cavaliers defense as a whole has been as of late. Now, prior to the loss against Houston, Cleveland was ranked 22nd in defensive rating. After tonight's game, it's surely going to plummet even more than that. The Cavaliers look like a bottom 5 defense as of late, especially in terms of defending the 3-point line. It has been atrocious. has been atrocious. And it's not just the defense, it's on the offensive end. The cold shooting spells that this team can have at points. It wasn't such a big emphasis tonight because you had Jerome and Donovan and at points, Darius, kind of carrying in terms of that perimeter shooting. But man, it can get cold at the drop of a hat. And then when you're talking about the interior presence that this team is missing right now in the likes of Evan Mobley, you would think that they would try and feature Jared Allen a little bit more. I don't get it, man. I don't. I would love to see them kind of force feed Allen a little bit more. And I know against certain teams, that's just not going to work, especially against teams like Houston who have a ton of length on you. I get it. But from an offensive philosophy standpoint, I do think that there are certain possessions in which the Cavaliers are settling for low percentage 3-point shots. And sometimes that shit's going to go in. It's just the name of the game as a shooter. But more often than not, I do kind of feel like they need to get Allen more involved. Some of that, honestly, I don't necessarily think all of that is on Jared. I think I think you have to feature Allen more. You have to run more DHOs for him. You have to run set plays for him. Get him involved more in the pick and roll. And I know teams can take that away. It can happen, but it was definitely felt like they did not utilize Allen enough. And as I see some people down here kind of shitting on Allen, I'm not necessarily going to put the loss on Allen at all. I don't put it on him. What I am saying is they did not get him the ball enough. They did not feature him enough. And yes, he could be tired out there, as HJ17 Gaming is indicating down here. But they still could have gotten the ball a little bit more. On the defensive end, Jared Allen did some wonderful things. He did about as much as he could. And as HJ17 down here says as well, Ja can only do too much defensively. That is true. I thought he played well defensively. I thought he held up very well. The problem at the end of the day, though, is that they did not utilize him enough. I felt like they didn't do that at times in the last couple of games as well. But tonight, without Evan Mobley out there and in the interior, you got to use Jared Allen a little bit more. In terms of the perimeter defense, as Woku Nakahara says out there, if you're going to use the zone, you have to be able to rotate timely. You have to be able to close out in a timely measure. The zone is built for teams to have to shoot over that. That is how you beat that. And the Cavaliers, it's not been working. It has not been working. And it is, to me, I think you have to figure out, if you're Kenny Atkinson, how to adjust. Go back to more man-to-man. But again, without the bodies out there and Karras and Isaac and LeVert, I don't know if that's going to be any more successful, because as much as people like to downplay how crucial those three are to the team, not necessarily Evan, but Karras and Isaac to a latter extent, as much as people like to downplay that, going to that zone, being able to have those terrific perimeter and point of attack defenders out there, that's part of what has made this Cavaliers defense so legit earlier on in the season. But at the end of the day, those guys won't be out forever. I'm just hoping that Kenny finds a way to get around the zone not working when it happens. Seriously, I don't know. Sven Reek says you have to play zone. If you can't play man, guys, you will get cooked. I agree. I think, but when you're playing zone all game, when the zone is not working, when your opponent is clearly shooting over the top of that zone, when it's not working, you have to figure out something. You cannot just completely rely upon the zone the entire game. And I know that's, again, it's been more and more frequent since these guys have been absent from the lineup, but something's got to give. Something's got to give, because you can't have Tyrese Maxey and Paul George just absolutely shooting the line. And these guys are not scrubs, obviously, but Maxey drilling 4 on you, Paul George drilling 6 on you. And some of those were just insane shots. I don't know what else to say. I really don't. But it wasn't all just the defensive issues. I just feel like the way in which the offense was run tonight was definitely not to my liking at points. Not getting Jared Allen involved enough, that really definitely hurt. I think you have to be able to I think you got to do something. I don't know. Floyd Phillips II says too many missed free throws, 14-19. That's the game. That definitely plays a role. You saw that happen against Houston with Darius Garland basically giving the game away at the end after Houston did everything in their power to see that victory to Cleveland. There were too many misses. Donovan Mitchell missed a couple tonight. You had Jared Allen missing both of his attempts. Ty Jerome, I have nothing bad to say about Ty Jerome. He did miss a free throw, but I don't know. What can you say, man? Again, against an undermanned Philadelphia 76ers team, the expectation was the Cavaliers should go in and beat a very beatable opponent. It should not have resulted in a loss for the Cavaliers. But as I said, as I opened the podcast with saying, it happens. This is the NBA where you can get beat on any given day. I'm not excusing this absence at all. This was a bad loss. But at the end of the day, shit happens. Cavaliers have to figure out how to then turn around because this is the first leg of a back-to-back. You got to figure out how you turn the page and beat Houston tomorrow. And that's really about it in regards to that. I'll hop into the comment section. Let's see here. Floyd Phillips II says defense is failing not only because Mobley is absent. No, Mobley covers up a lot. It's not just because Mobley is absent. It's not just because Karras is absent. It's not just because Isaac is absent. It's because the zone, if you're going to do that, you have to execute on the zone. You have to be quick enough in your rotations. You have to be able to close out. Cavaliers at times, because it'll work during stretches of a game, but during the whole game, it seems like the zone just kind of wanes. You can get past it. And Houston did it the other day, and you certainly saw Philadelphia do it again tonight. So Svenreek says this could be a really rough next 5 games with Houston, Detroit, Miami, and Atlanta. Yeah, I mean, we just saw Houston. We just saw what they have to throw at the Cavaliers. They will face them again on Saturday. Detroit, y'all know JB. I mean, whatever you want to say about him and his Cavaliers tenure, y'all know JB has those guys playing some of the best basketball of their respective careers. MNJ202 says our offense is fine. Shots fall or don't. Can't control that. Defensive scheme and effort is something we can't control. Absolutely true. 100% true. Shots will come and go. Again, the Cavaliers shot very, very well tonight. Mostly Donovan Mitchell and Ty Jerome. But, anytime you shoot damn near 50% from the three-point line on good volume, the Cavaliers shot 52 triples tonight, 13 more than Philly. They made 25 of them. Anytime that happens, you should be talking about a win. Obviously, that did not happen, but most of my problems lie on the zone just not working it. And then I can't not mention the rebounds. That is an underrated portion of tonight's loss. They out-rebounded Cleveland 43-37 overall, but a big turning point in this game at times was the offensive rebounds, the second chance opportunities that Philadelphia was able to generate. I saw it a bunch of times from Kelly Oubre, who would finish with a double-double, if I'm not mistaken, 22 points, 13 rebounds. It was tough. It resulted in a ton of second chance opportunities for this Philadelphia team. And anytime you give a team enough cracks at it, they're going to knock down shots. It is just the reality of games. It's how it works, man. It's brutal. It is truly brutal. They would end up scoring just 12 second chance points, but the opportunities that they gave them throughout, it was backbreaking at times. Cleveland actually outscored them in terms of second chance points, by the way, 26-12. But funny how it didn't feel like our second chance points truly was the turning point in this game, man. It's crazy how much of an impact it felt that Philadelphia had on the glass, despite not giving up nearly as many second chance points, despite Cleveland giving up not nearly as many second chance points as Philadelphia did. I don't know. B-Scroll says the 76ers is the first team that's under 500 by double digits that beat the Cavaliers. It was bound to happen. I don't know about bound. This was a loss that they definitely should not have taken. When you're down that many guys, no, I cannot. I can't excuse it. Hellstone says, I'm sad they had Ty Jerome taking the ball out. I suspected they wanted to pass, but it didn't work. Yeah, I was really surprised. I was saying before the game ended, look, you got you got to get the last shot to Ty Jerome if he is 8 of 8 from 3-point range. But if you're having him inbound the ball, and obviously Donovan and Ty had a miscommunication on that inbounds play, and it went right over Donovan's head, out of bounds. I was expecting somebody else, frankly. I thought maybe they would have had Ty in the corner, maybe in the left corner, where he sunk a number of triples tonight, but that was not the case. As soon as that happened, man, oh man. Floyd Phillips II, is Dean Wade hurt again? Knee injury, left midway through the game. Sucked. I will never bet on Dean Wade. I will never bet on Dean Wade again because I'm always fearful that he is never going to finish a game. And make no mistake, this has come in a season in which Dean Wade has kind of been a vital part, at least from a defensive standpoint, this season. But man, he is always a threat to miss some time. I don't know how bad the knee injury is. We'll have to see. I'm sure it's already been reported on. Don't ask me. I'm in here with you guys. I don't know. But it was disheartening to see him leave the game tonight. Dean Wade would play just 20 minutes, finish with 2 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 of 3 from the field, was a -7 on the night. John Turner says, we are too small. I think we can all agree that the Cavaliers could use a third big, a true third big. Now, will that happen come the deadline or come the buyout market? Fuck if I know, but it is something that I'm obviously hoping for. I keep and will continue to post propaganda in regards to a Duop Reith acquisition, somebody along those lines. In a dream world, Larry Nance Jr. gets bought out and the Cavaliers are able to acquire him somehow. I don't know. But the options are slim. There are some discussion among fans, not the organization, but fans, that JT Thor should get a crack at some of those backup big minutes. But I don't know. The Cavaliers are in a place right now where they probably don't want to place too much trust in a developmental piece. And make no mistake, that is what JT Thor is. And I get sometimes you just got to get an opportunity and see what happens. But if you're a team like the Cavaliers and your intent is to contend, I don't know if you want to risk that. I think the Cavaliers need to go out and acquire. If they don't get a bigger wing, which I do not believe they will. Again, the Cam Johnson rumors, they're all fine and dandy. I would love to have Cam Johnson as a part of the Cavaliers, Don in the wine and gold. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. And I think the much more realistic outcome is that they address the third big situation on the buyout market if somebody gets bought out or via trade. There are some free agents out there that they could potentially look at, but it is so hard to forecast that type of thing. I'm not even going to put names out there. We'll just have to see in that case. Dr. Manhattan says, is there any trades that you make besides Cam Johnson? What would you want from the buyout market? Maybe Kevin Love. Again, I think I saw this. Well, I obviously did not see this when I was answering, but Duop Reith, that would be my trade. Larry Nance Jr., if he gets bought out, that's really about all I got right now, man. that is seriously all I got. HJ17 Gaming says Chris Boucher. I hope he gets bought out. I know I butchered his last name. No, it's Boucher. You got it correct, Chris Boucher. I think that would be a fine acquisition. I suppose we saw him cook the Cavaliers once this season already, so I wouldn't be mad at that. Devontae Broom says Cavs should flip a Coro and Merrill for Oubre Jr. ASAP, but it won't happen. Nah. I don't see that happening. Again, I truly do not believe the Cavaliers will be able to acquire an upgrade at the wing. I really don't think they'll be able to do that. It was pretty evident the direction that the Cavaliers were heading in terms of their wing rotation. It's not, if it's not Cam Johnson, I don't believe the Cavaliers are going to make a move for a wing. I think they like what they have if it comes down to it. I just think that's what it is. That's really all I can say in that regard. And I know people after tonight's game, there are a lot of people pissed, and rightfully so. But I'll say this. This to me, I was way more pissed about last night's loss than well, not last night's loss. I was way more pissed about the loss against Houston than I was against tonight's Philadelphia and Sixers loss. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm in the minority. I'm a little bit more calm than I was after that, just because of how that game ended, because of how DG missed those free throws. I was way more pissed about that one than this one. And to me, I know people are out there circling wagons and saying, we need to move ASAP. We need to move ASAP. We have to make a trade. Well, guys, yes, Philadelphia was down a bunch of players, but the Cavaliers are also down three of their best, three best defenders. One of their best three players in Evan Mobley, one of their 6 to 7 best rotation players in Karis LeVert, and their best point of attack defender in Isaac Okoro. I'm not using that as an excuse at all, but I will say this. You can't say you absolutely have to make a trade knowing damn well who you're missing. The Cavaliers don't look nearly as lost defensively at times, or they don't look nearly as beatable in that zone if Isaac, Karis, and Evan are in the rotation. It just does not happen. I'm telling you right now. So no, you can't just make a trade for the simple fact that you lost. It happens. And why would we use this loss as ammunition for that? I don't know. Shit happens, man. Shit happens. John Turner says Wade will probably miss the playoffs because he always does. And if Mobley's injury lingers, watch out. We will get beat in the first round. Personally, I don't think that the Cavaliers go out in the first round, even if Dean Wade misses time. I just don't see it happen. I think they'll figure out a way around it. You just gotta let time tell. That's really all I can say because it's all speculation. Hailstone says we're going to be so doomed if we play Hawks first round. I don't think doomed is the right word. I think that the Hawks present a lot of matchup issues for certain teams. They certainly have length, right? They are one of the teams out there that deploy a lot of big wings. We saw Boston kind of struggle against it at times. We see them give New York some issues. We have seen them give Cleveland issues, obviously, giving them back-to-back losses. The only other back-to-back losses that the Cavaliers have taken all season came against Atlanta. So I can understand why people might feel that they are a terrible matchup for Cleveland in the first round if it were to shake out that way. But I don't think we got to worry about that, man. I truly don't. I think Atlanta will probably win enough games to not have to match up with Cleveland in the first round. And I still think Cleveland's going to earn that 1 seed. So they should get a pretty favorable matchup. As it stands right now, Cleveland is in that number 1 spot and Atlanta is the 8th seed. So assuming Atlanta made it out of the play-in, yeah, they would be the one to match up with Cleveland. But I think at 22 and 22, it's kind of hard to say because the 6th through 10th seeds right now in the Eastern Conference, it is a tight battle. You have at least 4 teams here with 21 wins, and the leader in that 6th seed right now is Detroit with 23. So there's like 2 games separating the 6th seed from the 10th seed. 2 to 3 games. It's going to be a tight battle, and I don't think Atlanta finishes there, frankly. I think Atlanta climbs up to around, I don't know, 7, 6-ish range. I think there's certainly the case to be made for that, but we'll see. We'll see. Gamer F2P says, how do you lose to the 76ers? I don't fucking know. Don't ask me. I'm not the Cavaliers. Obviously, the zone did not work tonight. Philadelphia shot the lights out. Cleveland failed to adjust at certain points. They did not get Jared on the ball enough, in my opinion, and they did not execute well down the stretch, or at least on that last possession, man. Ty Jerome, Donovan Mitchell clearly were not on the same page in that inbound opportunity to tie the game. But again, it's just one game, and I know people hate that saying. I had somebody hit me up in the comments of the last live stream about how they hate that saying, but it yields true. It's just the reality of the situation. You lose a couple of games in January, nobody fucking cares. Come April, May, June, as long as you're winning, come the playoffs. Dr. Manhattan says Jalen Tyson should get more minutes. I think so too. I think that there is a strong case to be made that maybe he starts getting some of Sam Merrill's minutes. And I know that sounds like sacrilege to some people out there who are huge fans of Sam Merrill. And trust me, I am a big believer in Sam Merrill, but prior to tonight's performance, I was at, I was at my breaking point. And then Sam Merrill came out and did what he did in that first quarter. I'm like, oh shit, Sam's back. Joel, back to back triples pretty much. And then he was a no show from an offensive standpoint in the second half. I don't know, man. I really don't know what to say because once Isaac and Karras come back, Sam's probably on the bench. And I'm not saying that we need to trade Sam, but I'm certainly saying that I don't know if Sam should warrant rotational minutes once we get to full strength. M&J 202 says, nah, Tyson should get his minutes. I can't agree there when Karras and Isaac come back. I'm giving Isaac and Karras those minutes. Ty Jerome played 33 minutes off the bench tonight, by far the most of any reserve. It's actually tied with Donovan Mitchell for the second most minutes in the game tonight. Jared Allen was your minutes leader at 34 minutes. Ty Jerome playing 33 minutes, that's never going to likely be a recipe for success. It'll happen. But I mean, if you're needing 33 minutes and 33 points from Ty Jerome, you're probably in a dire situation. And that's no slight because Ty was awesome tonight, but you should never be in a situation where you have to play Jerome that many minutes. Sam Merrill played 19 tonight. Niang got 18. Tyson got 14. Tristan Thompson he's been a part of the rotation with Evan being out. He played 10. So essentially it was a 10-man rotation. And some, don't get me wrong, Dean Wade missing some time tonight after being pulled after the injury. That definitely gave some of these guys some minutes boosts. But when Karras and Isaac and Evan are back, nah, I'm sorry. As much as I love Jalen Tyson's chances of being in the rotation sooner than later, no, there's no way I'm playing him above that of Okoro or Karras. That's just how I feel. I don't know. You guys feel free to disagree with me. Let me know how you feel in the comments. But no, I would not give Tyson minutes over Okoro or Karras for that matter. M&J 202 says, unless we need to cut someone's water off, I consider giving Tyson some of Okoro's minutes too. He just has a better handle on the ball, which can help us when they press us. I think that the ball handling is definitely something in his game, but think about this. Jalen Tyson is not proven to be a high quality three-point shooter yet himself. And he's doing, he's not necessarily a better defender than Isaac Okoro. We can all admit that. Tyson can damn near, he can hold his own. He can start some fast break opportunities simply by some of the defensive pressure that he can put on teams. But nah, I can't agree with you there until Jalen Tyson proves that he is a better three-point shot than Okoro. And Okoro's not necessarily a great three-point shot, but he's respectable. I can't go that far because I'm not worried about ball handling in the second unit if I have Karras and I have Ty, because those two should be the ones facilitating. And we know that Kenny likes to kind of mix some of their minutes up and stagger some of the minutes so that one of Darius or Donovan is out there at some points. It's not necessarily to the degree it was last year because it always felt like either one or the other was on the floor at all times. But with Ty healthy and with Karras mostly healthy this season, they haven't necessarily had to stagger the minutes like that. They're still staggered, but they're not. Kenny's not going that direction. So when Tyson's in the game, he's mostly an off-ball option. You're not seeing Tyson be the on-ball facilitator too often. So I can't lean that way. Nate says if the shot's not there, Niang will attack the closeout and try to make something happen. Granted, sometimes it's ugly, but he often creates an open shot or bullies his way to the rim. People think that I just love George Niang and don't see any of his flaws. And I push back on that at times. I see why people don't necessarily love the Niang minutes because they feel like he is one-dimensional. But the three-point shot is not all that he offers. He is actually a pretty decent driver, as indicated by by Nate here. It's just he is he can be picked on defensively. I'll put it that way, right? He plays the bulk of his minutes at the four, which is where normally in a playoff rotation you would have Dean Wade occupying, right? You would in a perfect world, in a playoff rotation, you are going to Dean Wade in that spot. I like George Niang. George Niang can hold his own against slower-footed forwards out there. He's not necessarily a guy who is going to be favored in most matchups, especially in the playoffs where it's basically all about matchups. But in a playoff rotation, you're generally leaning Dean Wade. The problem is that Dean Wade ain't fucking healthy most of the time. So George it is. And so I just wish people would give him his fair due at times. That is all I got to say in regards to that. Jose says Niang won't play in the playoffs, neither will Merrill. And unfortunately, with all the injuries, we have to play them a lot of minutes right now, which isn't good. I would not sleep on George Niang actually playing minutes in the playoffs. Could definitely be matchup focused, and it could be situational, as MNJ 202 says down here. But I wouldn't sleep on him necessarily playing rotation minutes if his shot is falling and they're not loving what they're seeing from Dean Wade or some of the other guys coming off the bench. They could certainly go to Niang in that spot because he is one of your only options off the bench that can space the floor at the four. He's one of the only guys out there that the Cavaliers have on the roster that could do that. Nate says, I think one of Niang or Merrill will have to play. Who is your eighth? In a rotation for the playoffs, I think Kenny maybe goes 9. I don't think he goes to an 8-man rotation. But if I'm going with a 8-man rotation, obviously my starting 5 is going to be, consisting of the core 4, and it may be matchup driven. I could see going to Max Strus in the starting lineup in the playoffs. I could see going to Isaac Okoro, even if it's more defensive-sided matchup that you needed. Dean could start theoretically, but I think Dean's minutes probably would be more vital in a playoff scenario, coming off the bench playing as your backup 4, backup 5, if you don't acquire a true big, right? Coming off the bench, true third big. I think my 6th man would be Karis. I think my 7th guy would be Ty, and my 8th man would be, if I'm not starting Dean, it would be Dean. But the Cavaliers have so many options that I don't think it would behoove them to go just 8 deep in a playoff rotation. And I know that is genuinely been for a lot of teams to go to, because rotations do shorten in the playoffs. But I also think that what Kenny has done in celebrating the depth of this team, I think that he has seen that they can afford to go further than 8. I think I would go 9. Probably no more than 9, but I would definitely go 9. We'll see. I don't know. I know none of this has to do with tonight's game, but I think we already kind of beat a dead horse with that. The zone just was absolutely obliterated tonight. We are very much missing the likes of Evan Mobley in that starting unit. We're still missing Isaac and Karis, especially from a point of attack defensive standpoint. And that is really all it boils down to. Cavaliers have got to clean up a couple of areas. The rebounding has been sort of an issue all year, but without a true third big out there, without Evan Mobley out there, I don't know how much can be expected. They did get out rebounded 43-237, and on the offensive glass, 16-10. But I'll live with that if the Cavaliers can stop letting opponents just absolutely shooting the lights out. They did turn the ball over 16 times tonight to Philadelphia's 18. Now, the NBA.com tracks that at 19 points off of turnovers for Philadelphia to Cleveland's 16. So again, another game in which the Cavaliers surrendered a lot of points off of turnovers, but this was very much a winnable game had the Cavaliers managed to, one, eliminate those extra second chance opportunities. And two, if Philadelphia isn't absolutely cooking from 3-point range. We'll see. That's all I got to say. It really is. As I always tell you guys, if you like to reach out to me, how you can, it's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to this Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot of said review to it's Cavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you an invite. If you're watching over on X, do your boy a favor, go over to YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber, hit that notification bell so you know when I'm going live. Hell, I go live after basically every game. I don't think I've missed one game. I don't think I have missed one game this season, and I hopefully that does not change. I'll try and be on tomorrow night as well, get in this rematch against Houston, but time will tell. You guys have a good weekend. Go Cavs.